I spent 22 years in the NRL as a head of performance, which is the person who's in charge of all the fitness and all the like a conduit between all the different performance staff. And I oversaw a lot of process there. So one of the main things that I was able to experience was working with a lot of different athletes. And one of the most interesting points of my job was that whenever we had an issue, whenever we had a below par performance, whenever we had some sort of problem with the players during games, after unpacking that a bit and doing a bit of investigation, we saw that a lot of that came from unrelated football areas. So their life at home, what they were doing at home or what they weren't doing. So that really took me down a pathway of not only training them and preparing them for the games and be at their elite fitness, but it also gave me a very nice insight into the mental workings of these athletes and the best way to have them ready to perform by having them their best off the field. Our ability to bounce back from adversity, the little strategies, the little behaviours and actions that we take, they can be developed over time and through experience. But one of the main things about building strong resilience is your actual capacity. So the things that get in the way of resilience coming to the front, the main one is fatigue. And when we're at our tired states, we tend to really struggle to be able to make sense of things and to bring ourselves back to a nice balanced area. So when we work on ourselves, when we work around strategies about increasing our capacity as such, and I mean by physically and mentally, and by taking actions, really positive actions around our lifestyle, what we do is we actually provide ourselves a little bit of space inside our heads and inside our bodies, and that allows us to be able to roll back from adversity, go to a nice strong base, and then deal with the issues. So very much about capacity and providing compartmentalizing things, and then giving us that little space and edge inside our heads to start dealing with things. The best thing about changing habits is not the goal of the habit change. The best thing is the process that you go through. Because in order to change a habit, you're going to have to change a lot of other little behaviors on a daily basis. And each of those behaviors that you change is a win. And winning feels good. So don't always think about the habit itself that you want to change, because what's going to happen is as you take those actions, as you follow that process, you're going to feel a shift. You're going to feel like you're having small wins. And people around you, usually the people that care the most, who have eyes on you, they're going to see these little changes, and it all becomes a really strong, accumulative, positive process. So think about the process. When we have our mind in a good place, we've got direction, we've got purpose, and we have planning. And this makes a tremendous difference to who we are on a daily basis. Very good for our mental health. There are 10 main strategies to building that resilience. Number 1, start small. Number 2, start small. Number 3, start small. Do you get it? Start small and it will grow. Don't bite off too much. Don't overwhelm yourself, because the small will accumulate to the large. I believe the greatest characteristic that helps you in life is your own self-awareness. And by developing your self-awareness, then you're very aware of your capabilities and your capacity, your competencies, and your confidence. So self-awareness, knowing who you are and accepting who you are, is going to be your greatest characteristic to living a happy life. unpacking your daily realities, having direction, having that purpose. When you're goal setting and you have direction, that's a really powerful, wholesome, good feeling at the end of any day or at the end of any week. So having that direction gives you light at the end of the tunnel. And again, like I said in the previous answer, start small, but the light will get brighter. I can think back to when I had COVID. And when I had COVID, I didn't get all the normal symptoms of COVID, so I didn't have a cold. But what I got fatigued. I ended up not eating. And when I wasn't eating, I ended up going into an acidosis or a metabolic acidosis state, which meant I experienced for the first time what real anxiety was, quite a fearful state. So over time, I had to learn to, what made me feel better, what gave me this hope that I was going to come out of this state. And it was all based around communicating conversations. So I actually began planning out not only my eating, of course, but I started planning where was I going to get my next story. I really believe and experienced myself that hearing stories from other men gave me a lot of strength and hope and a lot of insight. Stories were so much better than advice. And even now, I'm in a much better space with that. But planning and accepting to meet, greet, and hear stories, that really was a significant game changer for me to accelerate that process. Problem solving is one of those things that really does help us move forward. It really helps us feel supported, and our self-esteem is raised. We're able to recognize and hear where good support is, and we feel in control. So working with problem-solving strategies, asking for help, sharing our stories, all of these things can put us in a much more confident state around how much actual control we have over our own situations. When we set achievable goals for ourselves, that gives us that sense of control, that sense of achievement. These are really important building blocks within any person. So by going through this process, we really are able to set our direction, set our outcomes, and measure them. So it's a very important process on that healing journey, and has a lot to do with how well you come out of that journey as opposed to how quickly or how long it takes you. What's the real quality? And that's where you get your quality from. With any type of therapy, your willingness to put it out there on the paper or between that person, your therapist and yourself, is essential. It's got to be collaborative. No one's really going to understand or feel how you're feeling. So when you engage, it's a place where it's always a safe environment. It's very secure. So you should be able to share in that place. But the two things that I would say is that, number one, it has to be collaborative. You can't go there and expect answers to be given to you. However, you can go and use the sounding board of a very learned, qualified person to help you through that process. But at the end of the day, it's where you want to go and how fast you want to go there. But all therapies are positive as long as you are part of the therapy and you're leading the way. One of the things that we always have, undeniably, is ourselves, is our bodies and our minds. And man, sometimes you're going to be in a hole. And those holes can be very deep and no one can reach you. You're trying to build a ladder to get out. It really does feel like you're alone. In my experience, and with some of the men that I've worked with in the past, there's almost a realization that you are in control of who and what you are. And even though it feels like you don't have control of anything else hurtling around you, you have to bring yourself to a place where the basics are going to be looked after. Number one, are you drinking water? Hydrating. Number two, are you eating food? Number three, are you sleeping? And number four, are you moving? Now, I know that these types of things sound like very basic, but what they do is that's what generates any energy inside your body. And you can do it alone, and you can be in a place where you don't have to have people all around you, but you can do this and you can move along. And I promise you, you're generating energy inside you to help bring you back to a place where you can just deal with things a little bit better. And remember, you don't have to take massive leaps. No one takes massive leaps. I can assure you where you might be today is an accumulation of many little things over time that have just not been so good for you and made you feel like shutting down. You have to look after yourself. Your self-care is most important. So that body you're walking around in has to be looked after so that it can be strong enough to help you come away from this place where you are, take where you are as a lesson, and each step to move forward. In my experience, again, conversations and talking, listening, sharing stories, that was a real game changer for me. And the reason being is that not only did I not feel alone, but I suddenly realized I'm not the only one experiencing this. And something really interesting which happened to me, and I was talking to my brother when I was in a poor place, and I remember him saying to me, Donnie, this was my fear, and I don't know if it's yours, but I thought I was going to be like this forever. And as soon as he said that, man, it got me straight away. And I thought that is my greatest fear, is that the way my thoughts are today, the way everything's fuzzy, the way that I just can't really find something to grab onto. Is this me forever? Is this me for the rest of my life? And when he said that to me, because he'd come away from his own experiences, that gave me a tremendous amount of strength and hope. The light was a lot brighter. So talking and sharing, listening and giving, these are all things that really are very wholesome, and they're a reality check. If you were in business, we call it feedback. If you're in sport, again, feedback loops. But for us as people going through everyday life and having a bit of a struggle in areas, which everybody does, as soon as we realize we're not alone, it's a game changer. So have the conversations, speak quietly, speak gently, but speak.